Good afternoon, everybody. It is January 31st, the last day of the month, 2022. Tonight we are going to be talking about the follow-through day we got on Wall Street. Yes, we did finally get a follow-through day in the market, but there's some things we have to talk about because there are some subtle caveats here. You know, the market has been getting hammered, especially the very high beta growth stocks. So if we noticed about the market today, one of the things we'll see is that the vast majority of stocks that really were getting a nice bid were a lot of these beaten down, very high beta growth stocks. You can think about a lot of the ARK innovation fund stocks. And that could be a little bit of a cause for concern of what's called a dead cat bounce on Wall Street. But, you know, we did get the follow through day, so I did buy some select names, which we'll talk about. And in breaking news, in December, New York Sorry, I'm getting a phone call here. New York City had its highest ever median rents. So the median rent in New York City is now $3,400. We'll talk about why, as rents and the costs of living are skyrising all across the United States. But most importantly and most notably in cities like New York City, Miami, and other Western cities. Hey, Laura is here, says how you doing? Daryl is here, says hello, Tom. Greetings from Chicago. Theresa's here. Ruby Falcone, Hunter Butler, Sally. Vinny Castellano says, good evening, Tom. Hope you had a wonderful day. Indeed, I did, Vinny. Happy Monday, everybody. Darth Bong says, hey, Tom. Lou Rodriguez is here. NNB 045, Otto, and Dallas. Welcome, everybody. Good to see you. Hope everybody had a good start to the week on this multiple topics for the stream. And I want to provide you guys with some links. But the number one, first and foremost, you know, we did have a follow-through day in the market. Markets closed higher. NASDAQ really rallied the most, up 3%, but the volume on the NYSE was higher than the previous trading day on Friday. So that does qualify for a follow-through day. If you guys want to read exactly the criteria and how to identify these follow-through days in the market, if you type !TFD in the chat, the Nightbot will drop the link to the Investors Business Daily article that outlines a follow-through day. Hey, Samantha J is here, says, hey, Tom, good evening. Let me adjust the camera lens. Good to see you, Samantha J. Terry P says, hello, everybody, and Tom. Sunshine After Rain is here. What's up, Sunshine? Hope everybody's having a good start to the week. Dallas says, hey, Tom, the Empire State Building looks beautiful tonight. Yeah, I mean, yesterday the Empire State Building was red for the Chinese New Year, which is pretty cool. But tonight it does look crystal white. It's classic colors. Jamie Price says, good evening. Hey, Jamie, how are you? Laura H says, where will we be walking to today? So we are going to walk uptown towards 59th Street, Columbus Circle, at the Deutsche Bank Towers. Hey, Thiago says, hey, Tom, good to see you. Terry P is here. Samantha J. John Sorley. Blanket says, Trinidad in the house. Welcome. Western Mass Dave is here. What's up, Western Mass Dave? Good to see you. Daryl Hunter Butler. Judy D says, hi, Tom, and everybody. Ruby Falcone says, good evening, Tom. What's up, Ruby? Good to see everybody. And lastly, so the Chinese commercial paper market is something we've been talking about for a while, and it's really concerning to me, and it's just something I just don't understand, because it seems like the market is really ignoring the absolute decimation that has been going on in the Chinese commercial paper market. And I believe I programmed an article, CNBC article, into the Nightbot. I forget the command, so I apologize. Once it comes to my head, I will tell everybody. But the Chinese commercial paper market is falling off a cliff, and it just recently broke below its 2020 lows. So if everybody remembers, during 2020, we had the major COVID sell-off. Everything rallied, but now the Chinese commercial paper market has now breached below those lows as a wave of defaults starts showing up in the Chinese commercial paper market. Hey, Daryl says, Tom, Chicago is expected to get a foot of snow or more on Wednesday and Thursday. Dang. More snow, crazy. Jerry says, Tom, IOUs are recyclable in China. What's up, Jerry? Yeah, so Jerry, I mean, that's what it leads me to believe, right? It leads me to believe that, you know, and we talk about it a lot. You know, if the market is not reacting to it, we probably should ignore it. But I always check the Chinese commercial paper market every day, and these things just continue to get pounded. I mean, this is, you know, worse than '08. But I believe the market understands and expects that the People's Bank of China will really have a handle on it if anything major does happen. So it should be interesting to see how this rolls out. Hey, Zach is here, says, what's up, Tom? How do you hold the camera? So we are holding it on a gimbal tonight. We are holding it on a gimbal. And one other thing I wanted to mention, everybody, it would not, so we're streaming on Prism. It would not let me change the date. So I think it still says Sunday in the description. I just wanted to let you know. Hey, Photos from Around New York is here. This is Ola. What's up, Photos? Very good to see you as we are overlooking the Moynihan train station as well as the Hudson Yards. Igor says, nice to meet you. Are you going to the Moynihan station? Yeah, we are outside it right now. Ken Kramer says, hey, Tom, the markets ripped higher tonight. Indeed, they did. So, Ken, the only thing, obviously, we did have a traditional follow-through day. Right, Ken Kramer? We did have a traditional follow-through day today. But as I was really paying close attention to the tape, the vast majority of stocks that rallied hard were all the junk, were all the garbage. So if you think about a lot of the very high speculative stocks that are in the ARK innovation funds, you know, these things that are breaking 52-week lows, all of these things were up 14, 15%. And that is very indicative of bear market rallies. However, you know, across the major indices, we did get a follow-through day on the S&P 500. So it did force me to buy more stock at the end of the closing. But we do have to be cognizant that there's a very, very high probability that markets will rally back to their 200-day moving averages and potentially roll over, right? I'm not saying that's going to happen, but we just need to be cognizant of that. And I did write about that in the Behind the Street newsletter, that I think that the NASDAQ will rally back to its 200-day. And we got a face-ripping rally today on Wall Street. Hey, Kim Grant is here. Says, hey, Tom. Good to see you, Kim. Photos from Around New York. Says, glad to listen in. Busy day today. What'd you do today, Photos? It was so busy. I was getting hammered with emails from the start. Ever since 8 o'clock, everybody's been lighting up the email box for sure. Hey, good evening, Penelope. Penelope is joining us from the one and only Tennessee. It's good to see you, Penelope. We are right outside of the Madison Square Garden at the one and only Billy Joel statue. Good to see you too. Ken Kramer says, yes, market can be volatile going forward. I agree, Ken. But it is encouraging that as earnings are rolling out, the major stocks that make up the majority of the weighting in the indices, earnings are coming in better than expected. We've been talking about that. You know, we did a recap on Apple, Microsoft, everything like that. So earnings are coming in better than expected, but a lot of the junk, I would stay away from a lot of the junk. So on a follow-through day, you probably buy maybe 3 or 4 stocks, but just the pick of the litter, as I like to say, is very, very thin because a lot of these stocks are so beaten down. So I mainly held my buys towards the mega cap tech stocks. Yeah, Ken Kramer says, great day for semis, Tom. XOXX Bob says, good evening, Tom. What's up, Bob? Good to see you. Bianca M says, hello, Tom. How was your day? It was a very good day. Things are starting to thaw out here in New York, which is good. Ooh, Kim Grant says, I'll be lurking. Forgot to get gas. Penelope says, good to see you, Tom. Hope you are warm. Thank you, Penelope. We are. We finally got a break in the freezing, freezing cold. So it's not as bad as it was previous days. I see Mana D here. How are you? Good to see you. Yeah, Photos from Around New York is just organizing things for work. So this is on the backside of the Madison Square Garden. Richard Saul says, hey man, how are you? I am from Brazil and good to see you again. Good to see you, Richard. Thank you for being here. We are standing directly behind Madison Square Garden. I believe there's some sort of a game going on tonight. There was a lot of people walking in. Hey, King Prawn Curry says the king has arrived. What is going on? Gloria Mills says the snow mixed with rain coming in the south. Hope you had a good Monday, Gloria. Frank Gonzalez says, how long until the snow piles gets melted? Well, I mean, if you guys could see here, usually what happens in New York is everything will melt into ice puddles, and they're really, really nasty ice puddles. We're good to see you, Frank. Gloria Mills, good to see you. Dallas says, hey, Tom, I have a question. What do you think about the food shortages here in America due to the pandemic? So I think we have shortages all over in, I wouldn't say a food shortage, but you know, in necessary goods and services, there are shortages at grocery stores across the nation. But that mainly has to do with a global supply chain and logistics, more of like a 3PL issue. But being optimistic for the future, I hope a lot of those supply chain kinks really work through the market and should normalize. You know, as we've been talking about Dallas on the stream, you know, a lot of big chief executive officers at major Fortune 500 companies on their earnings reports, you know, they were transparent and they did say that global supply chain and logistics issues did impact business, but they do forecast things returning to normal, which is good. But just in full transparency, I mean, here, I don't really notice any empty shelves. What about you guys where you live? Is there anything empty when you go grocery shopping? Bianca M says, yesterday's live was amazing. Hey, thank you, Bianca. Thank you for joining. I appreciate it. Hey, the ABX girl says, get your dollar's worth with good weather boots. ABX girl is joining us from the Bronx. Good to see you, ABX girl. Tony Cortez is here. Hey, Cosmo Scary is joining us. What's up, Cosmo? Happy Monday. Tatiana Oliviera says, good evening. How are you? Caleb says, congratulations to my girlfriend welcoming a baby into the world. Wow, that's awesome, man. Congrats. Western Mass Daves is very interested in Tom's take on increased rents. Yeah, so we'll talk about that today. We will talk about that today. Rocky says, here in Chicago, there are a lot of random things missing at the store, says Rocky. NG is here, says in Orlando, the Trader Joe's shelves have been half empty. Wow. Penelope says, yes, lots of empty shelves here in Tennessee. Well, that is not good. And NG says, and I can't find regular bread anywhere. You know, that's so strange. I mean, all of the stores that I've been to here, I mean, you know, thank God, knock on wood, everything seems to be quite normal. But, you know, that definitely doesn't take away from anybody else's experiences, being that is anecdotal data for sure. Hey, Kelber's here. What's up, Kelber? Good to see you. Caleb's here. What's up, Caleb? Western Mass Dave says, many empty shelves in Massachusetts. No mushrooms gravy for months. Wow. Terry P is here. Says, yes, some Walmarts in Fort Erie and Niagara Falls are empty. Adri Art says, hey, Tom and everybody. Hope you have a fantastic week. Mana D says, yes, some places in Metro Detroit are experiencing shortages. Wow. That is really crazy. Hey, Wooster says, Tom, did you just place market orders for your buys today? Yeah, so Wooster, I was anticipating a follow-through day today. Really during power hour of the last 30 minutes is when volume started to pick up. But, you know, I am very, very, let's just say, skeptical of today's follow-through day. But that doesn't matter. The rules are that I follow. Whenever there's a follow-through day, you got to buy something in the actively managed portfolio. If that follow-through day fails, you know, we have a 7% stop loss in place. But I did go ahead and add to my long-term retirement accounts. I just bought the market, but in my actively managed fund, I bought a little bit of ServiceNow and Apple. Those were the two stocks that I bought. I didn't really want to buy them, but usually on a follow-through day, that's how it feels. But the one thing to be sort of, hold on, I think we have to cross the street because they're doing construction here. Hey, Dad's Midnight Creation says, is this live? It is. So one of the things you got to worry about for today's follow-through day is when we were looking at the overall breadth of the market, the vast majority of stocks that rallied were all the garbage, right? A lot of the ARC Innovation stocks, a lot of the Robinhoods, all of these garbage SPACs. So that leads me to believe the vast majority of buying today on Wall Street was short covering. So a lot of fund managers covering their positions, their short positions. But that's just all speculation. We have to listen to the market. So I did buy a select few names, and we'll see how it goes. Michael says short Kathy Woods. Hey, Valentina is here. What's up, Valentina? Good to see you. Maria is here. What's up, Maria? Walking in New York says hi. What is up? Nicholas Persad says pleasant night, Tom. What's up, Nicholas? Hope you had a good start to the week on this Monday. So I've been getting a lot of feedback that everybody has been experiencing those shortages. Interesting. Hey, everybody, we have Sanjeev in the house. Hey, Sanjeev, good evening. Says good evening, Tom, and walks in Wall Street family. Hope your day was, hope your week was off to a great start, Sanjeev. Tonight on the stream, we're going to be covering the follow-through day that we did have in the market. Big rally on Wall Street, but be very, very cautious of it. Number two, one of my good friends that's a real estate broker here in New York sent me a very interesting article that states that in 2021, or in December, we broke a new all-time record high for median rents in New York City. So the median rent, the average median rent in New York is $3,400. Now that is really, really crazy, but here's the caveat, here's the catch. And this is really strange, and I wanted to talk about this with everybody on the stream. So the median rents are at an all-time high, but new lease signings are actually 39% below historical averages. So why do we think that is? Very interesting, we'll talk about that tonight. As we are walking here on West 32nd Street, looking at the Empire State Building. Hey, Lady O is here. Juan Suarez, good to see you. Marjan Worldwide says, what's up, bro? Good evening, everybody. Hello, Marjan. Happy Monday, everybody. Daniel is here, says hi, good evening. Melee is here. Jose says, good night, Tom. Juan says, Philly in the hizzy, what is up? Triple G says, Tom, futures are red across the board now, with the exception of crude oil. Yeah, Triple G, so we did have a follow-through day in the market, but as I said, we do have to be cautious because the vast majority of stocks that I believe contributed to that follow-through day were all of the jump stocks that are already down a significant amount. So it could have been a lot of short covering today, so just be cognizant of that. Hey, Aaron Pearl says, happy Monday, Tom, and everybody. Yeah, Bob says the rent is too damn high. Western Mass Dave says, low lease, so true, Tom. I'm trying, you know what? I just programmed all the Nightbot commands. I just programmed all the Nightbot commands, but for some reason I forgot all the commands. You know, classic Monday for me to drop the ball on the stream, but it's all right. I'll figure it out. Oh, I remembered them. So if you type !rent, R-E-N-T, in the chat, I want you to read this New York Times article that one of my friends sent me, and he's actually a real estate broker in New York City, very successful one. If I said his name, you guys actually may know who he is, but he sent me this article, and he's like, it's very strange because the median rents in New York are at new all-time record highs, $3,400 a month for median rent, which is insane. However, the new leases are actually going the opposite way. So we're seeing a relative divergence here, which I have a theory why. I don't know why, but I have a theory, but I'd love to know what you guys think. Hey, Dutchman is here. Good to see you, Dutchman. So as you can see, most of the snow is already melting. NMB 045, not Ryan, Sirhan. Good to see you, NMB 045. How is everything in Canada? So the Nightbot just dropped it. It says, read it, the New York Times article. Michael says, is Tom on Discord? Very soon. I promise very soon. But, and, you know, this is a major concern for a lot of people because, you know, as I was reading the article, I was doing some additional digging online, and it's not just New York City that's experiencing massive cost of living hikes, right? It's cities like Austin, Texas, San Francisco, Miami is experiencing a crazy boom in the cost of rent and the cost of housing, which is not good. I mean, it's good for people who own property, but for the average working person, it is not good. That is not good news. Hey, Dad's Midnight Creation says, Tom, I'm flying to New York in 2 weeks. That's awesome. Lena Sandoval is here. Hello, Lena. Says hello, Tom and everybody. Cat B says hello, Tom and chat. Go Canadian Truckers Convoy. How are you, Cat B? Marjan says, my theory is the ability to work from home has lessened the need for living in New York City. So I think that's an interesting supposition, Marjan, and I would actually probably agree with you. But so here's the question. So we know that leases are down in New York, but then wouldn't that mean prices would be coming down as well? Why are prices diverging, right? Why are we seeing this divergence in rental prices going skyrocketing as new leases are actually going down? Really interesting. Yeah, Joey says, and commercial property sales were at an all-time high for 2021. You're spot on. Joey is spot on about that. Good to see you, Joey. Hope you're well. Chris says, where in Connecticut 700 is doable? Hey, Ben says, greetings from Minnesota. This is an extremely pleasant and relaxing channel. I subscribe today. I practice guitar while watching and imagining I'm walking in New York City. Hey, awesome, Ben. Well, welcome from Minnesota. That's so cool. Thank you for joining us. Warlock says, greetings. Zilch is here. Caleb, good to see you. Roy S., Mike Smith. So here's what I think, and then let me know what you guys think. And this is, once again, this is just opinionated. This is not fact. This isn't rooted in any hard evidence. This is just opinionated, right? So don't take this as actually true, because it's just my opinion. And I'm getting this from a piece of anecdotal data, because one of my buddies is actually moving back to New York City. He's trying to get an apartment, and one of the landlords where he used to live in his building, he used to live in this landlord's building. This landlord has 6 vacant units. 6 vacant units on the Upper West Side. Has rented to my friend before, but will not rent to him again because my friend does not make 40 times the rent. Right, so the landlord has extremely strict criteria. He's like, look, I will not rent to you unless you make 40 times the rent. Now, the apartment is $2,500, so you do the math. 2,500 times 40, that's a decent income. You have to make a decent income. And my friend does make decent amounts of money. He's a chef, but he doesn't make quite 40 times the rent. He makes probably about 37 times the rent, almost to the tick. And my theory is, ever since the pandemic started, I believe the landlords are extremely, extremely hesitant to rent to people that don't hit all of the qualifications, because during the pandemic, they've been getting burned by squatters and people not paying rent. So they would rather sit vacant and not rent to anybody just because they don't want to run the risk of having all these people be squatters. That is my theory. And if you remember on the channel, I think this was back about 6 months ago, that's why I was against all of these sort of mandates that you can't evict people, because I said it's going to cause the exact opposite of what the government wants. If you have so many people squatting in buildings, what's going to happen is once they're able to evict these people, The landlords are never ever going to take a chance on anybody ever again. And even if you make 37 times the rent, they're going to say absolutely not. So what this creates is an environment where the only people who can afford to get an apartment are people who are making 80, 90, 100 grand, which is not the majority of people. Now, that's my speculation. Once again, I'll say this is not, this could be totally wrong, but this is just my opinion, and I wanted to see what you guys think. Hey, Jonathan Francis here. What's up, Jonathan? Western Mass Dave says, Tom, more renters pushed out of the housing market. You're right. You're right on that, Western Mass Dave. Yeah, Joey says property owners require a fair shake. Marty Lewis says, I thought that the government was subsidizing landlords for people who couldn't pay during the pandemic. Yeah, so Marty Lewis, you're exactly right. In theory, that's what was supposed to be happening. But if you remember correctly, none of the vast majority... Hold on, I got something stuck to the bottom of my shoe. Sorry about that. But the vast majority of the money was never distributed to the landlords, right? So in New York, if you had a squatter, you know, there's a good probably 65 to 80% chance you were never paid. But again, this is just my opinion. Maybe it's not right. Maybe there's some other factor. I'm just trying to get to the bottom of it. NG says, I think landlords are so scared of being left to cover the costs if the event of someone loses their job. That's a good point. That's a good point. Ruby Falcone says, I understand the standard, but I also see it as a whole with rental standards, credit, income, rental history, etc. Yeah, I think, Ruby, you're right. You know, they should be able to consider every single piece of the puzzle there. But maybe it's just because they've been burned so much that they're saying we will not rent to anybody unless you tick all the boxes. Juan Pablo says, I think we are headed towards a market crash for the housing market. Jose says, I think everyone is taking advantage of COVID. I mean, everyone, even big supermarkets, even barbers. I went to get a fade and a trim and it cost me $38 plus a $5 tip. Yeah, I mean, it does. Yeah, Jose, I mean, you make a good point. It does seem like everything is going up. It seems like every single thing, including housing, you know, to Jose's point, the cost of just getting a haircut is going up. Hey, Mark Davis says, good evening, Tom. Hope all is well with you. Hello here from Toronto. Happy Monday, Mark. Good to see you here as always. Darth Bong says, Tom, landlords are leeches of civilization. Food, water, and housing should be a basic human right, says Darth Bong. You know, Darth Bong, I think, you know, I do see your point there, right? I think you make, I would say everybody in the chat would say that's a reasonable, you know, thing to say. But how would we do that, right? How would we create an environment where everybody just gets to live for free, everybody gets food for free? Like, what sort of ideas do you have that? Because I just don't see a possible way that that's even remotely possible. But I'd be open to hear some ideas. I'd be open to hearing some ideas for sure. Western Mass Dave says, poor folks who finally find an affordable place, then you find out no dogs. Oh my God, yeah. Hey, Chris is here. Says, hey, Tom. What's up, Chris? Cat B says, hairdressers don't make that much money, guys. They split it with the owner. You know, Cat B, that is also something to consider. You're right. So, I mean, obviously, I have no expertise in the barber or hair cutting business at all. But how does it work? You rent a seat at the barbershop and then you have to give a cut to the house. Is that right? Latha says, when I rented my first apartment in Manhattan, 54 times the rent was what was required to be able to rent without a guarantor. 54 times the rent. Latha, that is insane. 54 times the rent. So Latha, I'm not sure if you heard the statistic we were talking about. And I'd love for you to chime in on this. But one of my really good friends, who is a very notable real estate broker here in Manhattan, sent me an article that said the median rent is at an all-time record high for New York City. $3,400. It was either $3,200 or $3,400. If you type !rent, R-E-N-T, in the chat, you guys could read the article for yourself. But the median rent is now $3,400. So could you imagine, to Latha's point, could you imagine to a landlord saying, hey, you need to make 54 times this? I mean, I understand a lot of people in New York City make good salaries, but not everybody is making six figures. And I think, everybody needs to understand that. So it's a really, really strange time. It's just a really, really strange time. Hey, John Lee says, Tom, any ideas on Snap and Pin's earnings this week? John Lee, I'm going to cover all the earnings here in a second. But if you look at the Behind the Street newsletter, I did shed some insights on that. Yeah, Joe Hernandez says, Tom, it's $3,400 a month median rent. Isn't that crazy? So the median rent in New York City now is $3,400 a month. And that's not just in New York. And I don't want people to feel like I'm, dumping on New York, because I'm not. Miami is experiencing the same thing. People are being pushed out of their homes. It's so expensive. San Francisco, same thing. Austin, Texas, same thing. It seems like all of these big cities across the United States, the rent keeps going up. It's really, really bizarre. Hey, Paranoid says, but then most people don't want their parents or friends to sign a guarantee. Photos from around New York says, Tom, do you think these apartments are being rented or the landlord's waiting for the right tenant? So in my opinion, right, and again, I just want to be clear, because I like to distinguish to the chat when I'm talking about anecdotal data than actual data, because is very important. So I'm going to speak from an anecdotal standpoint here, and that means it's not a fact. And I'm basing this upon two stories. So one of my good friends, as I just said a couple minutes ago, is moving back to New York, and he's a chef, and he's trying to find an apartment. So he went to his old landlord and said, hey, I'm moving back to New York. Here's my income. Could I rent the same apartment that I rented to you 3 years ago? Or I rented from you 3 years ago. The landlord denied him, even though the landlord has 6 vacant units in the building, because my friend does not make 40 times the rent. He makes right about 37 times. And he's like, nope, non-negotiable, you can't do it. You got to make 40 times the rent. And my theory is, I believe that landlords are really trying to cover their butt, so to speak, because they got so burned during the COVID pandemic when they were getting stiffed on the rent and the government didn't allow them to evict anybody. That's just my theory. That may not be true, but that is my theory. Marty Lewis says, Tom, did you see the article in the Sunday New York Times about Miami Beach, about history of condo, high-rise development, Surfside collapse? Ooh, no, I didn't. Marty Lewis, could you share that with us? I would really, really be interested to see that, Marty Lewis, because the same problem that's happening in New York is happening in Miami. But the Surfside apartment complex collapse was an absolute tragedy. And if I were the families, I would sue the developers and the landlords of that building, because they were very, very negligent. Joe Hernandez says, did your friend leave the landlord on good terms? Yeah, so Joe, everything. And we know him personally. Like, we personally know this landlord. But he's like, I can't do it. He's like, I'm sorry, but I just cannot do it. You have to make 40 times the rent. So they are not budging on anything. So to photos from around New York's point, I think a lot of these landlords are just waiting for the correct, or just waiting for the right, tenant. Dutchman says, yes, it is a part of supply and demand capitalism, in my opinion. Yeah, so Dutchman, I think you're right, but the only thing is government interfered with the free markets, which has changed people's behaviors. Because the reason why I even brought this up, Dutchman, is because we'll cross the street here, is because prices are going up, but new leases are actually plummeting, going through the floor. So people actually aren't moving into the city as much as expected. New leases are at an all-time record low, but prices are still going up. So the supply and demand there, it's actually inverse. Hey, Kevin Buffalo's here. What's up, Kevin? Good to see you. It says there's a Rutgers University recommendation to landfill the waters south of Manhattan to include and go beyond Governor's Island. It would be 1,760 acres and make way for 250,000 housing units. You know, Kevin, I did see that. Very intrigued by that. What do you think about that, Kevin? What do you think about that? Cat B says maybe your friend can pay the landlord up front for the year's rent. So here's the thing, like my buddy is a chef, right? Good friend of mine, but he doesn't have the money to pay a year's rent, right? I think that's not very realistic for a lot of people. Yeah, Paranoid says just pay 6 to 12 months front of rent, right? But the thing is, not everybody's a rock star. Not everybody's an investment banker. Not everybody's a software engineer, right? There's everyday normal people, right? I think that's where a lot of people get. That's why I don't really agree with any of the politicians, because the politicians, they would say a statement like that, but that is so detached from reality, right? There's people that are working all day and have 3 kids to take care of. Do you think they just have 12 months rent laying around? Like, that's not realistic. That's ridiculous. So, I mean, in my opinion, not many people I know just have 12 months rent, including myself. Who has 12 months rent laying around? That's ridiculous. Yeah, Penelope's like, who could afford that? But I do see your point. I do see your point. Hey, Andy's here, says agreed. Andy is joining us from South Korea. Welcome, Andy. I hope you're having a good one. Hey, Rady McGee says, hey, Tom, I always look forward to your streams. Appreciate it. David says, median is 3,400, but has the mean rent gone up, down, or holding steady, Tom? The mean, so if you look at the article, I think at the very bottom, it shares a link to an additional article that goes into those, it goes into the prices of rent by borough, which gives you a little bit better data. But just to give you an idea, if you're looking to get, let's say, a 1-bedroom or even like a 2-bedroom, very rare you're gonna get it for under, I mean, it's a steal if you find something for 2,000, in my view. Let me make sure I'm not missing a lot of comments. I apologize if I am. Layla says, I'm also very sorry your chef friend is going through this. I hope he can find an awesome Airbnb or sublet so we can qualify for the C situation better. Yeah, it's tough. I know a lot of people that are in the rental market that are trying to look for apartments right now. Hey, Alan Wilson is here, says they may be trying to cover themselves, but at some point they may price themselves out of the market and be sitting there with a lot of empty units that they just can't rent. Very good point, Alan, and I think that may be happening. Mac Jack says, I am from DC and some want 3 to 6 months in rent advance. Is that even legal? So everybody, check out what Mac Jack says. I think this is a really interesting comment here. He says, Tom, I am in the DC market and some landlords are requesting 3 to 6 months rent in advance. So I'm not even sure the legality of that. I'm not even sure if that's legal. That's kind of crazy. Turkle says, so from the article, non-doorman buildings down 7% from 2 years ago, while doorman buildings up 8% from the same period. Very interesting. Yeah, so Turkle, I thought that part of the article was interesting as well. And I think that piece of data right there actually we were saying, right? It seems like the people who can actually afford the rent have no problem getting it, right? And that's why on this channel we've been talking about this formation of a 2-tier society of people who during the pandemic, who own stocks, who own real estate, doubled and tripled their net worth, but the vast majority of working people, you know, they actually fell deeper and deeper into struggles. And we've been talking about central banking, the Federal Reserve, and I think that's just one more example. Because I think Joey put in the chat that commercial leases are at an all-time record high. These are big corporations that have billions of dollars. You know, luxury rental apartments and luxury real estate, all-time record highs, because rich people can afford to buy all this stuff, but affordable housing units are nowhere to be found. JM says yield curve is flattened. Thoughts of looming recession. Thoughts? Yeah, so we've been watching the yield curve. The main thing we got to look at is the 10 and the 2, right? So the 2 and the 10, that's what I look at. But that 10-year yield, JM, it just seems like it doesn't really want to crack 1.8, 1.9. It's floating around right there. But the cause for concern is when we have an inversion in the yield curve. Hey, Carol H says he can get a roommate and put him on the lease too. That's true. That is true, Carol. Very good point. Oh, speaking of Carol, we're right outside your old building. Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to make it like a huge topic, but I just thought it was interesting because whenever we see these divergences between price and demand, you know, it always just gets me wondering what's really going on in the market. Hey, Latha says in New York City, something known as key money was a common practice. Renters had to pay upfront fee just to sign the lease. Very interesting. Dutchman says, Tom, for those that are retired and don't work, but have savings income and dividend income sufficient to pay the rent, landlords allow that without one having a job here in Phoenix. Well, I think I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. Good to see you, Dutchman. Hey, TNME TV says, hi, Tom. Just tuned in from Nashville, Tennessee. Sure do enjoy your wisdom and walks. Hello, everybody. Good to see you. Hey, Lady O's here. Bob says, Tom, my best friend owns a rental in Miami, but he hasn't raised the rent in years since his tenant is a retired teacher and has a steady pension. Well, Bob, your friend is a really good guy. You know, I think that's what a lot of landlords should do. And also, you know, why would you, if you have a tenant that is paying his rent, you know, why would you want to raise his rent during a global pandemic? Because then you just have to find somebody else to fill that void. So if I owned a rental unit, which I do, there's nobody in it just yet. I'm probably going to do Airbnb. I would just want to find somebody reliable. You know, I don't want to have to go through all this stress during a pandemic. Hey, Will is here, says, hey, Tom, I just saved a bunch of money on my car insurance by switching to Geico. Very cool. Andrew Lee, what's going on? So here we can see the very top of the One Vanderbilt building. Looks beautiful, but we are going to be making our way uptown to the Deutsche Bank towers at Columbus Circle. Steven says, hey, Tom, my sister's house, she had a contract on wants to evict her after she has done major upgrades to the house. Wait, so, hold on, let me read that again. I'm sorry, Steven. So your sister did major updates to the house? Hey, JA is here, says, my friend, good evening. Fresh start, good to see you. Lady O says, you'll need a good company to do background checks, Tom. Yeah, so Lady O, I think that's why I'm thinking that I'm probably just gonna wind up doing Airbnb. I just don't want to stress myself out right now with finding a tenant, doing all that. Hey, Razzle Dazzle is here. What's up, Razzle Dazzle? Somebody says, can you rent your property to your chef friend? Well, I mean, in theory, I could, but my property is in Miami, North Miami Beach, and my friend is moving back to New York City because he's working at a very nice restaurant here. DJ says, Tom, greed overrides common sense. Lady O says, does Airbnb do background checks for you? Yeah, so I think Airbnb is a very unique model where you can accept people based upon their ratings. So it's sort of like Uber, like you rate your Uber driver. So anytime somebody books an Airbnb, you could actually see their specific score. So if they were a good tenant, if they were respectful, if they were smoking, things like that. But check out this view. Get a load of this, guys. This is a beautiful view. Pineapple Water says, Tom, I had a rental in Surfside. I went on vacation and the tenant sold all the appliances when I was gone. Oh my God, dude. So what'd you do about that? Did you ever recover any of your losses, or did you just file a claim with your insurance? That's really wild. Steven says, yes, my sister added a whole tiny house in the backyard with a full deck, and she wants out of my sister's contract. She has always paid her rent on time also. Wow. Well, Steven, I'm sorry to hear that. That sounds horrible. I don't know what I would do in that situation. But I'm sorry you're going through that. Hey, Sunshine, New York. Sunshine says, Tom, move to Dubai. No taxes. You can keep everything you own and can build an empire out there. See, I really like the United States. I really like hanging out with you guys here in New York and Miami. But Sunshine, good idea. Restless says, Tom, how are the rent eviction laws in North Miami Beach? Are they as strict as New York City? No, they're very, very lax. So pretty much anywhere in Florida, you're going to have more of the renter laws geared more in favor of the landlord. And I'm not saying that's necessarily a good thing, but I believe, I do believe that people should pay rent, right? And I think that if we encourage an environment where landlords are going to continue to get stiffed, we're going to start to see a lot more of this behavior where landlords are increasing the requirements to rent from them, where only a certain portion of the population could afford a place to live, right? And that's not what we want. We want an environment where it's fair for everybody. But I think the government, as they put policies in place to quote unquote help working class people, I think it's actually having the adverse effect, unfortunately. Hey, Mimi says, when interest rates rise, there will be more renters. Yeah, so Mimi, that's a good point. So I believe, the main thing to look at is that 10-year yield, right? The 10-year treasury note, I believe we're right about 1.7, 1.8. And I think 2 weeks ago when we were live streaming, the 30-year note for a 30-year mortgage was right around 4%, which is historically high, speaking over the last 4 or 5 years. But rates could go a lot higher, to your point. But for some reason, if you look at the tips, I'm not sure if anybody follows the tips, which are the inflation protected treasuries. They're not really signaling any for inflation. They're not really signaling any sort of long-term sustained inflation. But I guess we'll have to see how it plays out. Rodriguez says, Tom, have you ever read the book A Random Walk Down Wall Street? Yeah, it's a good book. Very good book. Leida says, old client of mine was SVP at Airbnb, and wow, did I ever learn about how Airbnb rentals can go very wrong for the brand, the property owners, and even the Airbnb customers via last-minute cancellations. Yeah, I've heard those horror stories too, Leida. That's a good point. Spinards is only people buying T-bonds are old elderly people. After they're dead, T-bonds will go extinct and won't have effect on rising interest rates at all. That's actually a pretty interesting thesis. Yeah, I mean, I don't know who would buy it, but oh guys, look at this. Check this out. This is my favorite thing about New York City snowstorms, is you get these nasty, nasty water puddles here. Doesn't that look so icy? Lady O says, Tom, maybe you can do Verbo. So I heard about that too. Yeah, I'm gonna have to try out a bunch of things. I'm gonna have to get creative. But to be honest, I've been using Airbnb for the last 3 years and I have never ever had an issue. But again, that's anecdotal data. Yeah, but so as I was saying, to somebody's point, if you buy a bond in this environment, you are guaranteed to lose money factoring in inflation. So real rates are negative across the board. Hey, Lil Bank says, yeah, it's nothing new that sometimes government intervention is not always good, just creates obstacles companies work around that benefit their interest, discarding the consumer's well-being. Yeah, Little Bank, I think you have a good point. Alan Wilson says, are you wearing your waders? No, unfortunately, we're just wearing regular, we're actually wearing skateboarding shoes. Edgar, good to see you. Yeah, so that was the number one topic for the stream tonight, everybody. I just wanted, you guys to take a look at that article. This has been a big problem, not only in New York, right? I don't want to sound like this is a problem isolated to New York. You look across cities across the United States. You talk about San Francisco, Denver, Boston, Miami. It seems like the cost of living is going up like crazy. Hey, Relentless is here. It says government also intervened in higher education with federal loan grants. Cost of college went higher. Yeah, so Relentless, we talk about that all the time on the stream. You are 100% right. Layla says, oh my God, terrible shoes to be out. I know, Layla, I am the absolute worst when it comes to footwear. Ben says, you said yesterday you were going to walk through that light thing. Did I? Maybe we'll do it on the way back. But yeah, so who said that in the comments? That was a really good comment. Let me see. That was Relentless. Yeah, so that's the position I've been holding for a long time, right? So the government intervened and has subsidized all of these student loans. So what this has done is this has ripped away all free markets and all price discovery in the prices of college tuition. Because if a college or university understands and they know that they can charge whatever they want and the students will be guaranteed to get the loan, there's no incentive for the college to lower prices. So what we've seen happen over the past couple of years is administrations at these big colleges and universities absolutely explode. Administrations, spending on sports, new cafeterias, all of this nonsense. They could justify all this spending because they're like, hey, we can add 50 more administrators and pay them $100,000 a year because we'll just offload that cost onto the students because we know that they will 100% be guaranteed to get the loan for our egregiously priced tuition. So really good question. Really good comment there. You're 100% right. Hey, Sabrina Fair's here. What's going on, Sabrina? Yeah, just bear with me when I cross the streets here because we do have to cross over these crazy puddles of water. Hey, Emilio J says, many useless professors and administrators love being sheltered from the free market. They are parasites. Yeah, and look, I'm not saying that every single, college administrator or college professor is bad. I'm not saying that. But all I'm saying is I think there's a lot of excess junk that could be hollowed out at a lot of these colleges and universities, but that will never happen because budgets across the board at major universities, especially in the private sector, continue to increase every year. So fresh start, here is the H&M building. Hey, Michelle McGraw is here. What's up, Michelle? Happy Monday. Pablo, good to see you. Hey, the one and only Mighty Bull is joining us. What's up, Mighty Bull? Hope your week is off to a great start. Mike S. says, with people being able to work from home, high price office space becomes obsolete, says Mike. Perhaps. Hey, Matthew, thank you so much. Says, what's the best form of transportation in this snowy weather? Matthew, thank you so much for the $5 donation. I appreciate it very, very much. Honestly, I'm going to say walking, but that's just my opinion. But, you guys know I'm crazy. I'm really, really nuts. So I tend to walk everywhere. So for a normal person, I would probably say taking the subway. Yeah, the Mighty Bull says, Tom, working from home seems to be the future. But then again, that's the thing. Not everybody has the ability to work from home, which, you know, can create a whole other problem in and of itself. Yeah, Lisette F is here. Says walking or taking the train. Lily Ray says, good evening, sir. Hey, Lily. Good to see you. Hey, Nirvana fan 500 says, what's up? Good to see you, Nirvana. Nillis says, what a great vibe, just walking through the cold streets of New York City. What's up, Nillis? Good to see you. Yeah, Bob says, walking is normal from a New Yorker. Hey, Gordon's is a real expert walker, a guy who wears skateboarding shoes in the cold and icy conditions. Yeah, Gordon, I'm not sure if that makes me an expert. I think that makes me pretty stubborn, but I appreciate that. Appreciate the kind words. So we do have some data breaking news from Turkle in the chat. It says current milk prices are up 20% from pre-pandemic levels. Wheat is up 25%. Corn is up 50% and oil is up 40%. Don't know the market specifics or the future, but not great. Yeah, Turkle, I think, you know, that piggybacks off of what we were talking about a couple streams ago when BlackRock and Blackstone warned of a multi-year commodity super cycle. So I think you were right. Jack says it's called inflation. Yeah, Jack, I mean, we had the last CPI print we had was about, what, 7%? So this is the very top of the, what's it called? It's Monday, everybody, I forget. One Vanderbilt building. Pablo says, so that's why you changed your name. No, so we will still skateboard on the stream, but the past couple months has just been really, really busy for me. And that brings us to, you know, another thing I wanted to bring up, which is the Chinese commercial paper market. And that is really, really concerning me because look at all this trash. Because the Chinese commercial paper market has absolutely been getting hammered. This thing's been getting pounded into the sand, quite literally. And it's actually back below its 2020 lows with the COVID pandemic. So this is where they dropped the ball on New Year's, right here. And, you know, to me, this should be a breaking story. This should be on the cover of Wall Street Journal. But for some reason, the market is just ignoring it. And at the end of the day, we really have to listen to the market because the market is right. It doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what I think the market should do. Whatever the market does, that is the correct thing. But it's just so perplexing that the Chinese commercial paper market is falling off a cliff and nobody's talking about it. Really crazy. Hey, Pineapple Water says Kyle Bass must be happy about that. Lady O says tomorrow is trash pickup day. Hey, Lays says, hey, Tom, what's going on? So we are walking towards Bryant Park on 42nd Street. We're about to see Bank of America Tower as well as Salesforce Tower. Lisette F says, when you live in the East Coast, you can't wait to leave. Then when you do, you can't wait to go back. That's so true, Lisette. Yeah, I don't think I would ever leave the East Coast. I love it here. I think my two favorite places is New York City and Miami. I don't think I would ever leave these two places. But that is true. And the wind is starting to pick up. We still got all the city bikes buried in all the snow. Hey, Roman Sid says, Tom, that's my favorite building in New York.
She's like, yeah, we're gonna do dolly shot.
Bank of America Tower. Hey, Noah says, Tom, keep up the nice streams. Thank you. Hey, Kelly says, how cold is it in New York with all the snow? I think it's probably about, what, 20 degrees tonight? Yeah, Western Mass Dave is like, I missed the 24-hour skate stream. It'll be back very soon. Do not worry. Hey, Roxanne Robles is joining us. Says, hey, Tom, deja vu. This is Pittsburgh Strong. What is up, everybody? From Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Good to see you. Hey, Marilyn is here. Says, I know you get a lot of emails. Sent you an article about large rent increases in New York and Miami. Well, thank you for that. Thank you, Marilyn. I will get to it, I promise, because that is sort of one of the topics for the stream tonight. So thank you for sending that. So Eve M, I am not sure where all of the trash gets recycled in New York. Jose says, guys, this is the GOAT. He inspires me every day. He never takes a day off, and that motivates me too. Thank you, Jose. You are the best, and I appreciate you being here. So we're looking at One Vanderbilt. Beautiful, beautiful. Roxanne Robles says, hey, Tom, I'm going to be there on Thursday. So excited. Awesome, Roxanne. You're going to have a great trip. And so, you know, Roxanne, actually, I think that's probably the best time to come because it's actually going to get quite warm. You know, this cold front is going to go away right in time for you to get here. So that is very good news. Hey, Lisette says, do you like Miami for the weather? I hear it's freezing and iguanas are falling from the sky. Yeah, that is crazy. My neighbor actually just sent me a video of my driveway. I had two massive iguanas on my driveway, totally frozen solid. But it doesn't mean they're dead. It just means that in a couple days they're going to thaw out and they'll be fine. But it is quite a surreal sight. I'll try to put it up. I'll try to send you guys all the links to everything. Hey, Miss Shea Butter says, I like the variety on this channel. Snow in New York and shorts in Miami. Yeah, hopefully we'll be back to shorts in Miami soon. But then again, it is 35 degrees in Miami. At least last night it was. As we got Frank Sinatra. I think this is Frank. But check this out. This fountain is totally filled with ice. That sort of just gives you an idea of how cold it is outside. The Bryant Park fountain is totally covered in ice. Lay This is Tom's kind of music. Exactly. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, the Rat Pack, Sammy Davis Jr., all the greats. Yeah, Michelle McGraw says, wow, the fountain is frozen. Roxanne Robles says, love the Rat Pack. Here, I'll give you guys a better look at the fountain right here. I'm just gonna see if the Nightbot works. Hold on one second. Yeah, Penelope's like Frank's singing about iguanas falling from the sky. Yeah, so everybody, if you read this, if you click on the link that the Nightbot just dropped, right there, it says, we just had a follow-through day read here. That'll bring you to the Investors Business Daily article where it'll outline in detail sort of what we like to look for in the market. But you know, as we said before, a lot of the stocks that rallied today on Wall Street were a lot of the, let's just say, the junk. So I think a lot of the volume on the street today was coming from short covering, but it doesn't matter. We have to follow the rules. But if the follow-through date fails, we will cut our losses. Hey, Jose, this is the building to my right with the green top is my job site. Ah, very nice. I'm assuming this one, right? Uh, 65 says, Tom, Miami would be hellish for me as I love the change of seasons, particularly fall and winter. Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it's definitely not for everybody. Miami is definitely not for everybody. But for me, I think I like living both places. If I could split my time 50-50 between Miami and New York,
Group 2,
I think it's good for me.
Please exit the ice and return your skates. Group 2, your session has ended. Please exit the ice.
So we'll take a little walk. We'll take a lap around
Group 3, you have
Bryant
10
Park.
minutes left to skate.
Ah, Jose says, Tom, I'm replacing all the stone around the top. Ah, very cool. Well, Jose, stay warm, because if you're doing that outside, I mean, you must be freezing during the day. So I give you a lot of credit. Please stay warm. So this is the Bank of China right here. Laytha says, Tom, I enjoyed living 50% in New York City, 50% in LA, but man, that was a long commute. Yeah, back and forth, I could imagine. Hey, Mark says, hello, Tom, from Music City, Nashville. Someone needs to live stream here in Nashville. You're a great example of how to do it well. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Alex Lopez says, that's an incredible, Tom. Splitting your time between two cities. Yeah, I mean, I'm very, very fortunate to be able to do that. So I am very, very thankful, for sure. I enjoy Miami. And I also love New York. So I think I got the best of both worlds. Too Easy says, I used to work at Penn. Oh, that's right here. Okay, so we have a viewer that actually used to work right here. That's pretty cool. Leida says, isn't tomorrow the beginning of Lunar New Year? It is. So Chinatown's going to look beautiful tomorrow. You know, maybe we'll take a walk down to Chinatown, maybe if we have time. But I may not be able to stream tomorrow. That is going to be determined. But in other news, I actually did get a WeWork, which is this one. So I actually sit right in this window and work during the day. I just got a WeWork pass because you are able to access any WeWork in the nation for right around $600. And I think it's a pretty good deal if I'm going to be commuting between New York City and Miami and I need a true dedicated place to work. I think it'll work really well for me, and plus if I'm going to hire somebody, I think I can add one person to the pass, so we'll see. Hey, Bessie says, never been to America, but I like the excellent live stream like this. Thank you so much, appreciate it. Thank you for being here. So in Bryant Park, there's still a lot of snow here. Hey, Lucky Traders here says, if you walk down to Chinatown, just be careful. New York City is a very dangerous place. I think I'll be all right. Alan Wilson says, can you go in there and warm up at night? So this place at Bryant Park, it does close at 6:30, but there are some 24/7 WeWorks. I think this is the only place that's left at the Winter Village right here. FK says $600 a month or a year? A month. Did I say a year? I could have said a year. I always tend to misspeak all the time. Hey, Gabe is here, says, love your channel. Just found it this weekend watching from Queens. Hey, Gabe. Thank you for watching. Queens, New York, great place. Hope you're staying warm out there in Queens, Gabe. Carlos says, New York City isn't that bad, y'all. It ain't even the top 50 most dangerous cities in the United States. Yeah, I mean, I haven't had a problem. I don't have an issue here. I've been living here forever. But, you know, look, in any major city, you're going to have crime. In any major city, you're going to have crime. Unfortunately, you know, things have been getting a little bit more dirty over the past couple of years. In full honesty, yeah, they have. You know, is there more homeless people? Unfortunately, yes, there is. Is there more, you know, heroin needles at Penn Station and things like that? You know, yeah, there is. But, you know, New York, it's not like it's the 70s again. No way. But look, we have a new mayor. I'm optimistic. And, you know, we'll see. But we'll see. Hey, Christopher says, just subscribed. What other live streams in the city do you like? All of them. I like all of them. I watch all of them. They're great. Wow, Alex Lopez says, Tom, the Miami wind chill was in the 30s. Jeez. Andy says, you're right, Tom. Every major city has crime. Yeah, I mean, wherever you have a lot of people, right, in one place, you're going to have crime. It doesn't matter if you're in New York, San Francisco. But I mean, if you compare New York to San Francisco, New York is a much, much better run place than San Francisco, hands down. Best pizza place in New York City. For that, you have to go to Brooklyn and go to DeFara Pizza. That is my favorite. So this is inside the Bryant Park Grill. Roxanne Robles says New York City is better than San Fran. I agree. Look, everybody has their preference. That's sort of what I learned over the years. There's a lot of debate which city's better. At the end of the day, you're going to live in whatever city fits your personal preference. You know, we could even ask this guy. See, I mean, this guy This guy couldn't last a day in San Francisco, right? This guy couldn't last a second. All right, so this is a view of Bryant Park from the more eastern side of the park, I would say. So this is the Salesforce Tower. We talk about it all the time. Big software company. Mark Benioff is the CEO. Specializes in customer relationship management software. And then we have the one and only Bank of America Tower. Warriors says he's taking the fifth. Hey, 48 is here. What's up, 48? 48 is joining us from the one and only New Zealand. Yeah, Michelle McGraw says, love that snowman. Marcy M says, no, he wouldn't. I live 60 miles away from San Francisco. Very cool. Hey, Crystal says, I live in Minneapolis, and when I spent time in New York City, I felt safer in New York. Yeah, I mean, there's a large police presence here. So I think the NYPD does a pretty good job overall. Yeah, Triple G says it sounds like Miami in the background. So if you look closer, you can actually see the roof or the ceiling in the New York Public Library, which is one of my favorite places to go to study. And the New York Public Library named the Stephen Schwarzman Building, very famous investor on Wall Street. And Stephen Schwarzman actually has a new book that just came out. And he made all of his money in LBOs or leveraged buyout deals on the street. Hey, chat says, hi, Tom. What's your opinion on ETFs like QQQ? Yeah, so QQQ tracks the NASDAQ 100, right? So an ETF is an exchange-traded fund, so that they will track the broader indice, right? So, for example, SPY is an ETF that tracks the S&P 500. Same with VOO. The only difference is VOO has a little bit of a lower expense ratio. But QQQ, a lot of traders use it to trade derivative products on it, so like options. But QQQ is one of the largest ETFs that track the NASDAQ. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a particular opinion on it, but it just tracks it tracks the index, which is pretty good. So you'll be diversified. Man, it is cold. NC Ohio, my Canon C's. It's a night of jibber jabber. Good to see you. Marius says, hello from Houston, Texas. New York is too cold for me, but I have relatives in Buffalo. Somebody's talking about Alibaba. Drew says Alibaba will make us rich in the next 5 to 10 years. We will look back and say, man, I wish I bought Alibaba. So it's funny, I did own Alibaba, but I sold it for tax loss selling. I just think that China is a little bit too risky for me, but, you know, originally I did have a bull thesis on Alibaba, and I still think it's a good company, but I just think the risk in China is so great. But it's, you know, on its face value, it's definitely attractive at these levels, but I'm not sure if I would ever buy it back. I just don't know if I can. Hey, what's up, EBITDA? Good to see you. Says, I think there are better companies you could buy that are safer than Baba. Yeah, it's just a lot of the regulatory stuff is really unfortunate there. But the Chinese regulators did approve the AMD Xiling steel, which is good. But EBITDA was a broad-based rally on Wall Street. The NASDAQ was almost up 3%. You did have a follow-through day today, but one of the things that we have to watch out for is a lot of the volume today and a lot of the rally on Wall Street came in a lot of the junk stocks. So a lot of the stocks that have been hammered, like the Robinhoods, all the SPACs, the special purpose acquisition companies, really a lot of the junk. And that's very indicative of a dead cat bounce. But nevertheless, it was a follow-through day, so I did have to buy something. So I bought Apple and ServiceNow. Not full positions, but I did get back in a little bit. I had to buy Apple and ServiceNow, and I also just bought the S&P in my retirement account. Yes, Latha, thank you, garbage collectors, absolutely. So I think we should take a little bit of a walk around Grand Central Station tonight. Check out the view of the Chrysler Building. These guys are trying to clear the snow here. EBITDA says, yeah, I was thinking either DCB or that shorts were covering their positions. Yeah, EBITDA, I think you're right. You know, and a lot of the indicators last week that we were talking about were indicating extremely oversold market conditions. So I think the vast majority of volume today was either shorts covering. But in the Behind the Street newsletter that I sent out to everybody, I did highlight that I do expect the NASDAQ to rally back to its 200-day moving average. And then we will see what happens from there. But just to stay disciplined, I did buy because it was a follow-through day, but it does have a very high probability of failure. But yeah, Michelle McCross, like they need a bigger snowblower. Hey, Rich McNeils is here. What's up, Rich? How are you, Rich? Says snowblower needs tire chains. Carolina Tom says, Tom, I use the word patience. Buying time is soon, but not here. More pain is near. What's up, Carolina Tom? Yeah, Carolina Tom, you could be 100% correct. But we did have a follow-through day today, so I was forced to buy something. On every follow-through day I do in my actively managed long-short portfolio, I pick the best names that I think will perform the best in terms of relative strength, in terms of earnings, and I do buy a position. But I only bought about a half position today because there's just not a lot of good merchandise on the market at the moment. You know, a lot of these stocks have been so crushed. There's no bases at all that have been formed. So it's very, very possible that this follow-through day will fail, as Carolina Tom said. Somebody says, who's my Super Bowl pick? So who's in the Super Bowl again? Is it, I don't even know who's in the Super Bowl. I do know who's in the Super Bowl, but I forget the name. Who is it? It's the Cincinnati Bengals, I believe. Right? Cincinnati? Hey, XXX, good to see you, and thank you for joining tonight. Yeah, EBITDA has got to go with the Bengals. Everybody's saying Bengals. Very cool. Carolina Tom says, I'm 100% cash and waiting. So Carolina, Tom, what are sort of the parameters that you're looking for, right? So what are some of the parameters that you are quote unquote waiting for to get back in? Is it a particular indicator? Are you looking at a specific price to sales, price to earnings ratio? What sort of multiples are you looking at? Is this sort of like a valuation play, or sort of what are you modeling out? Jose says, thank you, buddy. What's up, Jose? The Mighty Bull says, I definitely want the Bengals to win. Hey, CLG is here. Says, hi, Tom. How's it going? It's going really good. A bit cold tonight, but it's going good. Andy S. is stock market and Fed corrupt. Yeah, we've been talking about the good old Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell. We heard from our friend Jerome on Wednesday after the FOMC meeting. Somehow they have to manage to unwind an almost $9 trillion balance sheet, which should be interesting to say the least. Hey, Emmanuel, this is Tom. Thank you for the stream. Thank you, Emmanuel, for joining. I appreciate it. Phil P says, Tom, the stock market is just a casino. Interesting take. I respect that take. 65 says, I live in Northeast Ohio and been to the Cincinnati Bengals game only once. Andy S says, interest rates to go up 3 to 7 times. Yeah, I mean, so Andy, I'm not buying that at all. Supposedly the Fed is supposed to raise rates 7 times. I really only think we're going to get 2 rate hikes, if that. And when they raise rates, it's not going to do anything to sort of help with inflation at all, in my view. But what are your thoughts on that? Hey, Chris is here. Says, pick some AMD stock today. See how earnings go. What's up, Chris? Yeah, so we covered that. So, Chris, we covered that yesterday. So AMD, Qualcomm report earnings this week. A lot of the semiconductor stocks report. And, you know, the semiconductor sector has been getting hit recently because of the global semiconductor shortage. And a lot of analysts on Wall Street, you know, I was actually reading a pretty interesting piece from an analyst at Mizuho, which is a Japanese investment bank. And they were saying that they believe, that the semiconductor shortage will continue until a lot of the factories are built. You know, I think it was Intel, they just announced a $20 billion investment into Ohio. But if we really think about all of the new and emerging technologies that are going to be coming about over the next 5 years, they all require semiconductors. They all require chips. Bih says, Austrian economics needs to do its work with the rate hikes. I agree with you in theory, I agree, but I just don't think it'll ever come out to be with the Fed chair. Hey, Tux Brown says, no, it's not. People are aware of the fundamentals, buy non-U.S. equities. Says Tux Brown. Yeah, so I think I agree with you, Tux Brown. I don't think the stock market is a casino if you make it a casino. You know, if you deal with, you know, all the nonsense on YouTube with, you know, everybody posting videos of Dogecoin and all this SPAC nonsense, then yeah, it's a casino. But if you actually understand finance, you understand how to read a balance sheet, you actually listen to the earnings reports, you build your discounted cash flow models, and you actually invest the proper way, well, then it's not a casino. So I do agree with you, for sure. Hey, Mercy M says, I found your live stream just last Friday and really enjoy them. Thank you, Tom. Hey, thank you, Marcy, for being here. We appreciate it. Unlimited stimulus is Tom. 3 rate hikes at most. Pelosi has a lot invested in stocks. Yeah, and it's not just Pelosi, right? It's also a lot of the other cronies. GML says, do you think cannabis will be federally legalized soon? What do you think that would look like? So I've had, I think it should be, but in terms of an investment thesis, there's a lot of, let's say, cannabis stocks that are just not profitable. So a lot of the, marijuana stocks, a lot of them are just junk that have no earnings and no sales. So I think I would invest accordingly. Hey, Lopez says, hello, excellent, your camera, good resolution of this live video, and greetings from Chile. Hey, thank you for joining. I appreciate it. Mimi says, I've been buying copper ETF and water ETF. They are all doing fine so far. Emilio J says, I can't see a rate rises having any effect on inflation now. Yeah, it's just not enough. And I mean, the rates that they're gonna, it's not even going to be anything remotely to what it should be. Hey, Andy S says, Tom, thanks for the live stream. Like catching live walks and exploring. I'm in the finance industry, but not why I'm here. Hey, Andy, thank you. Appreciate it.
Don't fall for it. Once again,
it's good to have you here as well. What do you work on the buy side or the sell side, Andy? MKC updates is walks in Wall Street. Tom, what time does Grand Central Station open and close? I believe it's 24/7. So in the Grand Central Station right now, you could get the, what's it called? You can get the Metro North, but also very soon you are going to be able to get the Long Island Railroad via the East Side Access Project. So I'm excited about that. Carolina Tom says, deflation is coming quickly. It will bring pain. One rate increase is all. Yeah, so Carolina Tom, there's one fund manager, Kathy Wood, that shares your same thesis. And we'll see how it plays out. You could be right. Andy S says, I'm more of an analyst in the biomed research area. Hey, very cool. That's awesome. Well, thank you for joining, and hopefully you're enjoying the streams. Yeah, Mimi says potentially stagflation. I mean, there's one economist on the street, Peter Schiff, that's been calling for stagflation for the longest time. And look, don't get me wrong, I love Peter Schiff. I listen to his podcast every single week, never miss. But, he's just been wrong. He's just been wrong since the lows of 2008. And he's been a gold bug. But, one of the things that's intrigued me, a little bit off topic, if you look at a monthly chart of gold, it's, anybody type into TradingView GLD and go to the monthly chart, that is by far the biggest base I have ever seen in my life. And if we crack the highs and break to new all-time record highs in gold, I mean, you got to buy that. But I'm not buying gold unless it cracks those highs. Yeah, Mimi says Peter is extreme. Hey, Russian River Bees says, nice video. Good to see you, Russian River Bees. Yeah, Warren Willis says this place is spooky. I think it's just because there's not a lot of people that came to the city today. Mimi says, I prefer silver than gold. Yeah, one of the interesting things that I've been looking at, look at the Dow gold and the Dow silver ratio. Check that out. Russian River says, I don't like taking trains anymore. Emilio J says, Peter Schiff just stoking fear, to sell his books. I mean, I don't know about that. So Peter Schiff, for those of you who don't know, is the CEO and founder of Euro Pacific Capital, as well as Euro Pacific Bank. But he's actually in the biggest tax fraud or tax evasion case ever. So it is the largest tax evasion case in history. But we won't harp on Peter Schiff too much. Hey Scott, this is Tom. I just signed up for your newsletter and looking forward to read it. Hey, thank you, Scott. Yeah, so everybody, I do write a newsletter, a free investing newsletter called Behind the Street. It's completely free if you'd like to sign up. If you type !news, NEWS in the chat, the Nightbot will drop the link where you could punch in your email and sign up. Also, every single one of my newsletters are archived on the website, so you could feel free to read it at any time. So you could go back into the archives and read them. Hey Larry, it says hello Tom from Mexico. Welcome everybody from Mexico, good to see you. I'll give you guys another look at the Chrysler building here. We are Vanderbilt Avenue and East 42nd Street near Pershing Square. Yeah, Clarence Jackson says Peter once ran for U.S. Senate in Connecticut. He did. He also ran for president, I think. Didn't he run for president? So we are also near Pershing Square. And if you think about Pershing Square, I think about Bill Ackman. And Bill Ackman actually just bought a massive position in Netflix. But then again, I would never buy a stock below its 200-day moving average. But, you know, Bill Ackman is a smart dude, and he just threw down a crazy amount of size on a Netflix position. Yeah, everybody's saying the Chrysler building looks great tonight. I'm gonna have to agree. Let me see if I can block out the light. Yeah, it looks really good. Lady O says, Tom, tomorrow is your live stream for Behind the Street. I'm not sure if I'll be able. Tomorrow is going to be really busy for me, Tuesday. It's the first of the month and I have one of my biggest meetings I got to attend. So I may not even be able to stream on this channel, unfortunately. Hey, Noah Joseph says, I moved to New York City in a month. Awesome. You're going to love it. I wish you well, and I wish you a ton of success. Hopefully you come here and rip its face off and be unbelievably successful. Hey, System Nomad says, you're using a great camera. Thank you. So we are using an iPhone 11. So this is looking northbound on Madison Avenue. Chris says, I'm a strong believer the structure of the economy has changed. People had opportunity to restructure their lives with COVID, start their own business, go back to school for a better job, etc., says Chris. Noah Joseph says, hell yes, thank you, bro. No problem, Noah. Noah, where are you moving from? Yeah, Andy says, yeah, iPhone 11 is great. So we're standing across the street from the PwC building, so PricewaterhouseCoopers. Hey, Ed Potke is here. He says, hey, Tom, hope you're having a great day. Ed is joining us from the one and only Corning, New York, in upstate. Good to see you. Hey, Lily Reyes has just subbed to your newsletter. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. So everybody, I think we have over 400 people signed up to read the Behind the Street newsletter, and that to me is really just phenomenal. I mean, I put a lot of effort into it. I love writing. You know, that's one of my, you know, if I wasn't in tech sales, I think my other dream job would be, you know, stock or just an economic writer, maybe writing for the Wall Street Journal or something like that. So I really enjoy it. I really like writing. I may not be the most talented writer, but I try to get as much information out there as possible. So I appreciate everybody that's been reading my work. It does mean a lot. It really does mean a lot to me. So we're gonna walk back to Avenue of the Americas and make a right. So 42nd Street, 6th Avenue. And then we are gonna head uptown to 59th Street, Columbus Circle, the Deutsche Bank Towers, which were just bought by the Time Warner, formerly known as the Time Warner Center. Hey, Pacific Desert Raid is here. What's up, man? Good to see you, Pacific Desert Raid. We are outside of the Steven Schwartzman building. I think Ebitda's dad actually used to work with Steven Schwartzman. Pretty cool. Ebitda is one of our pals in the chat. Works for Bank of America Merrill Lynch. Noah's is California's home right now. You know, a lot of people have been leaving California and coming to New York. So a lot of people I know in California have been leaving. A lot of people that work in Silicon Valley have been leaving, moving to Miami, New York. So it seems like there's a big exodus from the West Coast to the East. So welcome, welcome. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Phil Peace is who you work for in tech sales, Tom. So I won't say, but at my previous company, we were majority owned by SoftBank. And then during COVID, I left my job to try to start my own sort of VAR or MSP, so to speak. So I have one main client that I work for. So I really specialize in going into a business and doing a complete audit of their IT infrastructure. And then I will, depending on what the size and scope of the business is, I mainly have sold into large hospitals, healthcare. So I used to sell all of the electronic visit verification, the electronic medical record systems, and all of the WAN infrastructure. So if you think about a traditional MPLS network, so traditional telecom MPLS network, since a lot of people are working remote, a lot of companies are switching to what's called an SD-WAN, or a software-defined wide area network. So we will sell a lot of that product, those products, distribute the WAN and stuff like that. SD Rob says they only make it to Texas. Interesting. Yeah, Noah's rent has skyrocketed in California since COVID, and good jobs are so scarce for some reason. Well, I mean, we were just talking about that here. I mean, New York City rent has skyrocketed too, unfortunately. But yeah, my previous company, that's what I used to do. I used to sell EVV, electronic visit verification software, and traditional telecom. The Rockstar IV says, can I find a job here? Yeah, absolutely. There's a ton of jobs here for sure. JT7 says temps are back in the 80s when you head back to Miami. That's just the way I like it. Just the way I like it. Yeah, Noah says New York is just so much more appealing, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, I think if I had to choose, honestly, between New York and California, obviously I'd choose New York. Hey, Eyeglass Lady says the view in the distance is breathtaking. So what do you think about this view of the Empire State Building? Hey, Nicholas is here. Nicholas Duras says, what's up, dude? Manhattan is looking freaking awesome tonight. as always. I see Jimmy Anderson. Hey, what's up, Jimmy? So Jimmy Anderson is the host of the Beer and Bets podcast. Good to see you, Jimmy. Turkle says, yeah, it's continuously impressive that the video quality comes from just an iPhone 11. So you want me to tell you guys my trick, how to make the video quality so good? You want to know how I do it? Hey, Rob Tim says, I am amazed how little snow there is on the streets. Yeah, Rob, I mean, here in New York, you have all the drivers pretty much melting everything. But I will say out on Long Island, in some parts of Queens and Brooklyn, well, geography, speaking about geography, Queens and Brooklyn are technically parts of Long Island. But there's a lot of snow in the boroughs in Nassau, Suffolk County. Lily Reyes tell us it has to do with the frame rate. You need to adjust the frame rate when you are shooting. Hey, Tina T says more snow coming this week. Yeah, Noah Joseph is like, I almost moved there 2 weeks ago. Glad I didn't. That snowstorm seemed miserable. Yeah, I mean, I think you're moving just in time. Hey, Otto says, yes, tell the secret, Tom. How do you make the video look so good? Honestly, I think it's just you just adjust the frame rate. Ed Pocket says, you don't really need 60 frames per second. I agree. Because a lot of the times on the playback, depending on, if you're watching it at 1080p, 720, it doesn't even process it anyway. Hey, William Creech is here. Says, good evening. What's up, William? We're right outside the Bank of America Tower tonight. Noah Joseph says, Tom, do you have any New York City survival tips? I don't really have any survival tips. I would say there's a lot of distractions here. There's a lot of distractions in New York. When you come here, you're probably going to want to go out and party, hang out with your friends. But what I would do is I would come here and I would just absolutely go to work. I would take advantage of everything and I would just rip this city's face off if it were me. That's what I would do. But the only downside is there's so many distractions. Every Friday night, your friends are going to want to go out drinking, having a good time, which is good, which is fun. But if you want to come here and get to work, you have the opportunity to do it, and you're going to be so successful. It's just, you're not even going to know what to do with the success. You're going to be coming back to the stream saying, Tom, what do I do with all this success? I don't even know what to do with it. And I think that's what's going to happen. Hey, Sam Pod is here. What's up, Sam? Wesley West is here. Says, hey. Good evening, Wesley West. Hope you had a good Monday. Hope your week is off to a good start. A little bit cold here in New York, but, as the week progresses, it's actually going to get up into the 40s, which is good. 40, let me tell you, 40 is going to feel really, really nice. 40 is going to feel really, really nice. Alan Wilson, that's so funny. Alan Wilson's a survival tip for New York City. Befriend all the rats. That too. Hey, Tatiana's here. Says, good evening, Tom. When are you going to California for a walk? Are you planning this someday? Probably, honestly, not anytime soon. But I would really like to go to California. So this is my old office building right here. Back in the day, the Marsh & McLennan building. We're on West 44th Street, walking up 6th Avenue. Streets are quite empty tonight. Elliott Wave Reviews says, hey, Elliott Wave Review, love that. Says, are people still partying in the meatpacking district? Yeah, there's a lot of partying that goes on there for sure. Namaste says, don't go to Cali. You'll never want to go back to New York or Miami. Jeez. So here's my old building, Marshall McLennan. We actually had one of the most successful, or still is, one of the most successful quantitative hedge funds on Wall Street in the building D.E. Shaw, David E. Shaw. And that's actually where Jeff Bezos worked. That was his first job out of college. He was a hedge fund analyst for D.E. Shaw. Hey, LaFresh Sinatra's here. What's up, LaFresh Sinatra? Good to see you. Andrea Zay says, did you chat with the D.E. Shaw in the elevator? Yeah, some of them. Some of them are my good friends, actually. I did. If you want to be... I think that's, if you want to work on Wall Street, I would say probably the top two areas to work. Probably number one being a quantitative. And number two, probably working in M&A. Eyeglass lady says, I'm in California. You're better off in either New York or Miami. Juliana says, hi, Tom. Hey, Jerry's here from Canada. What's up, Jerry? Noah says, Tom got me all hyped to go already. The sooner you can come, the better. Yeah, obviously I have biases. I'm going to say New York is better than California, mainly because, I live here. But what can you do? Hey, Kevin Lee says, Super Bowl 56, Los Angeles Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals. So I don't really know anything about football, but we'll go with the Bengals. What do you guys think? I'll cheer for the Bengals. Jimmy Anderson says, awesome views again, man. Love the channel. Thank you, Jimmy. So Jimmy Anderson, who do you got up for the Super Bowl? So Jimmy Anderson runs a sports-related podcast, Beer and Bets podcast. So who do you got for the Super Bowl, Jimmy? Daddy Bog says, Marsh in McLennan was an insurance broker that I dealt with when I was an ocean marine cargo underwriter. Wow. Very cool. Namaste says Cali is undefeated. You'll lose if you come here. Hey, Susan says hello. How are you? Beautiful place. It's midnight here and it's time to sleep. See you tomorrow. Hey, Susan, thank you for joining. Appreciate it. Hey, Pineapple Water says success is subjective. I define it as a black hat for animals advocacy groups. Good to see you, Pineapple Water. Hope you're well. And I hope your week is off to a great start. I want to see the NASDAQ. So we'll walk and check out the NASDAQ. We'll limit our time in Times Square. Not a big fan, but I want to check out the NASDAQ at least once. Yeah, so everything is all lit up for the Lunar New Year. This is where they drop the ball right here at Times Square. Hey, Joey B is here. Diego is here. Bianca M says, live is amazing. Thank you, Bianca. Hey, Kashmir Funks is just passing through. What's up, Tom? Hey, Kashmir. Good to see you. We're just walking around tonight. We were talking about rents in New York City. We were talking about the follow-through day we had, and we were also briefly touching on the Chinese commercial paper market fallen off a cliff, but the market doesn't seem to care about it too much, so there's nothing we could do. Good conversations tonight, some good people. We'll check out the NASDAQ. Victor says, why not a fan of Times Square? Sometimes there's, just not a fan. So we are about to pass the Ernst & Young building, or EY. So you could think about Ernst & Young. I think Techno Pink is a viewer from the Dominican Republic, works for Ernst & Young. So EY, good firm, management consulting. So now we made it. We were outside the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ composite rallied 3% today. Hey, San Miguel is here. Says, good evening, Tom and everybody. What's up? Hey, Jerry says, where is the Stephen Colbert building? We are going to walk past it tonight. I will show you. Eyeglass Lady says, ever been to Vegas? I have. This is the H&M building. Hey, Cool on 516 agreed. Alan Wilson, what's going on? Michael says, hi, Tom, watching from Southern California. Enjoy your walks and commentary. Thank you for the support. Thank you for joining. I appreciate it. So we're going to head straight up Broadway. We are going to cross paths with the Stephen Colbert building and then arrive at our final destination, which is the Deutsche Bank Towers, formerly known as the one and only Time Warner Center. Hey, Cynthia Beal, 10-4, copy that, agreed. Sometimes I like looking at the NASDAQ because in that NASDAQ building is where they film a lot of the CNBC episodes as well as the Investors Business Daily stock market wrap-up. So sometimes I like looking at the studio there, but then it's definitely time to boogie on out of here for sure. Sometimes there's some CD characters hanging out as well. How many floors is the NASDAQ building? I'm not sure about that, but I think NASDAQ occupies maybe the first 5 because they have their studio in there where they broadcast live, and also CNBC, I believe, squawk on the street. Tommy Guns, good to see you. San Miguel says, I hope Tom enlightens us about the financial schemes of Deutsche Bank. I mean, San Miguel, even though our streams are 3 hours long each night, I think we're probably going to need a little bit more time to unpack all of the seedy activity at Deutsche Bank. I think we're just going to scratch the surface with their toxic balance sheet filled with derivatives. Hey, Atomic Skittles, good to see you. How are you, Atomic Skittles? But yeah, I mean, out of all the large investment banks, Deutsche Bank has I would say, the most toxic balance sheet out of all of them. If anybody's familiar with the 2008 financial crisis, Deutsche Bank, in my view, got left with the worst shape because they were buying all the toxic collateralized debt obligations, as well as many other banks. Tommy Guns is here. What's up, Tommy? Yeah, too many Tommies in here, but the more the merrier. The more Tommies, the merrier for sure. Photos from around New York says, how do they get away from that? Yeah, I mean, that's the big conundrum that is, you know, photos. There's a really good documentary about the 2008 financial crisis that goes into a little bit more detail about how equity exotics and synthetic derivatives came about. And I think it's really important for people to understand that, what a synthetic derivative is. And I think at the beginning of one of the streams, I said, tonight we're going to be talking about synthetic derivatives just as a joke. But maybe one night we will actually spend some time talking about, you know, the synthetic derivatives market and things like that. Hey, Lewis says, hey, Tom, what did you think about ServiceNow? So, Lewis, today was a follow-through day on Wall Street. So a follow-through day in my actively managed portfolio. I do tend to buy stocks, but I only bought two because there's too few merchandise on the market that's any good. Things have been getting decimated. But I did buy ServiceNow and Apple today because it was a follow-through day. But I will warn everybody, this follow-through day is probably the most prone to failure. But you know, out of all the stocks, ServiceNow reported a great quarter. Bill McDermott is the CEO of ServiceNow. He runs a phenomenal company. Margins are expanding, earnings are expanding, revenues, fantastic return on equity, very good pre-tax and after-tax margins. So on a follow-through day today, like today, which may have been caused by short covering, you know, there's not too much for us to choose, but Apple has the most relative strength coming off an unbelievable quarter. Apple actually reported their highest revenue quarter in company history, so I had to buy that in ServiceNow. Hey, Smee Media says, Tom, are you going to pass the Ed Sullivan Theater? We will walk right past it. Hey, Dogman is here. Good to see you. Yeah, so in the Behind the Street newsletter that I wrote this week, I included a couple of charts. And if you look at the chart of the NASDAQ composite, I said I think that the NASDAQ is going to rally into its 200-day moving average, but there's a very high possibility it could rally into the 200-day and then roll back over. But we'll just have to see. We're just going to have to play it by ear and see how this market turns out. Yeah, Dogman says Apple's still already back a few points to all-time record highs. Yeah, and that's the thing, right? So whenever there's a market correction, stocks that have sold off the least will be the new leaders when the market turns back up, if that makes sense. So if you think about all of these junk stocks like Peloton, you know, a lot of the special purpose acquisition companies, the SPACs, Robinhood, all of these junk that are down 90%, those tend to be the stocks that continue to underperform the market. So what you want to look for in terms of correction is you want to make sure you're paying attention to the most fundamentally sound companies that have earnings stability, especially in a market like this. Hey, Line and Sinks is hi from breezy south coast of Hampshire, England. Hey, awesome. Discovered your stream recently. First live stream Sunday. Beautiful picture and quality on my 4K TV. Interesting New York walk and conversation. Well, I'm glad you're here. Thank you for joining. Thank you for subscribing. Hey, I see Gio here. Says, hey, Tom, Google reports tomorrow. What are your thoughts? Waiting for Zoom info too. Yeah, I think Google's going to report a fantastic quarter. The reason why I think this is because We had Microsoft reported, and their Azure cloud computing division came in well above expectations. So usually that is a precursor for Amazon AWS as well as Google Cloud. One of the other key metrics to watch is the YouTube advertising revenue. And I think YouTube advertising revenue is going to come in well above expectations just based off of this stream alone. Just kidding. Just kidding. That was a joke. No, but in all seriousness, I think YouTube advertising revenue is going to come in well above analyst expectations. I think a lot of analysts on the street underestimate the power of YouTube. I think margins are going to expand, and I think that Google's cloud computing unit is going to continue to lose less money. And then in the next 4 or 5 quarters here, it'll probably turn profitable. Hey, Rick says, hey, Tom, snow sign perfect for right now. What's going on? Hey, Disney cast member, what's up? Disney cast members now moved back to New York, which is always great. Lady O says, Tom, show us Junior's cheesecake. I think we passed it. Let's see. Yeah, so this is Junior's cheesecake right here. Hey, Brian Cox, good to see you. Hey, Colin says hi all the way from India. Hey, Colin. You know, when I look at the YouTube analytics, we actually have quite a few viewers from India. So thank you, everybody that has been watching from India. That is awesome. I really do appreciate it. And hopefully you are enjoying the content. We are actually going to have a dedicated stream to India coming up this week. So stay tuned for that. A lot of analysts on the street are very bullish on the Indian economy as a whole. A lot of very notable tech startups are coming out of India. So we'll talk about that as well. But Colin Lobo, hope you're having a great Monday, and I hope your start to the week was really good. Western Mass Dave's like, you're making me hungry with all the cheesecake talk. So this is that Stardust Diner. I've never been here, but supposedly they jump around, sing and dance and everything for you. It's a very famous tourist attraction here. NMB 045 says, any emerging markets you find less risky, Tom? I mean, if I had to buy something, so I do own an emerging markets ETF, which is VWO, which is a Vanguard product. It has a little bit lower fees. But, you know, I think you could just buy Samsung. You could just buy Samsung because I think for the first time since 2018, Samsung actually took over the place of Intel as the number one semiconductor. Excuse me, I have to sneeze. Excuse me. Yeah, so I think the first time since 2018. So I think there's a lot of innovation coming out of Samsung. Obviously a Korean company. So maybe if you're looking for a long, you could, you know, long that. Obviously not financial advice. Or you could just buy the SOX index, which I think is probably fine too. Nicholas says, Tom, have you ever been to Serendipity? I think I have a couple times, mainly when I was young. I think that's on the Upper East Side. Is that correct? Hey, Juan says, hello, Tom. Hope you're doing well. What's up, Juan? Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. Colbert. Does anybody remember during the summer streams when we would skateboard, we'd always have debates. Who's the best talk show host? Those were good times. Those were good times. Yeah, Rick says, Tom, do you think Putin will invade Ukraine? I don't think so. I think that's all nonsense. But then again, I'm not an expert on foreign policy. But I think that big thing is all a big dog and pony show. I think if you want to talk about smoke and mirrors, I think the whole Ukraine situation is the biggest smoke and mirror show going. But I always like to preface this by saying I am not an expert in foreign policy. So I could be wrong. Tomsicle. Hilarious. Hey, CL says I saw Colbert in October. Hey, very cool. Hey, he's funny. The cat Remy says, Tom, do you think AMC stock is illegally manipulated? So I don't, but just as in my opinion, I don't even pay attention to any of that nonsense. I would not pay attention to any of the meme stuff like the AMC, the GameStop. It's all nonsense. I would stay away from it. Hey, Nighthawk says hi from Austin, Texas. Good to see you. Yeah, the whole, GameStop, AMC situation, it was just a short squeeze, right? And then it turned into just a big media debacle. So I just wouldn't pay any attention to it. It's all nonsense. I wouldn't even let it take up real estate in your mind. I'll give you one more look at the Late Show. Hey, Rick says Angelo's Pizza right there. Western Mass Dave says, I would have to agree, Tom, on Russia. Media hypes everything up for eyeballs. I mean, so Western Mass Dave, here's when I really sort of realized it was nonsense. Is when Ukraine is coming out and saying, hey, the United States, could you please stop hyping it up? Like, Ukraine literally came out and told the United States, guys, chill. Hey, CVCV says, I'm from Saudi Arabia. How are you? Hey, welcome. Good to see you. Hey, War Walker's here. What's up, War Walker? War Walker is our pal from the 305, Miami. The way I like to explain it is, Google the GDP of the United States and then Google the GDP of Russia. And then you tell me why you think Russia would ever want to invade the Ukraine. Elliot says, any stock trading newsletters you recommend? Any stock trading newsletters I recommend? So I would recommend a couple podcasts. So I would listen to all of the Investing with IBD podcasts. So that's Investors Business Daily. They have great podcasts that come out every Thursday where they sit down with some of the top money managers on Wall Street. So that is the one I would recommend. It's called Investing with IBD. Great podcast. And shamelessly, if you want to sign up for my newsletter called Behind the Street Newsletter, it's free. You're more than welcome to. It's the first link in the description of the video. It's called Behind the Street, and I write it once a week. But Investing with IBD is probably the best podcast. Is there who, either at, former Morgan Stanley guys and girls BNP Paribas, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch, Citadel, 2 Sigma, you name it. Hey, Smee Media says Columbus Circle on the way. Phil P says, do you read Barron's? I do. I do read Barron's. So here we are in Billionaires Row. This is Central Park Tower right here. And then the one right here is 157. And Bill Ackman actually owns an apartment in this building. Somebody says I could barely see the screen, it's so dark. Oops, sorry about that. Is the screen dark, everybody? Sorry about that. So we are actually going to be walking past 220 Central Park South. So speaking of the GameStop debacle, Ken Griffin is the founder and the owner of Citadel Securities, which is one of the largest quantitative market-making firms on Wall Street. And his building is coming up. He bought the 3 floors. He bought 3 floors in 220 Central Park South. Yeah, so on this row, you have a lot of big players. Ken Griffin. You have Bill Ackman, and I think you also have Michael Dell. But in 15 Central Park West, you have Lloyd Blankfein, which is the former CEO of Goldman Sachs. CLG, it is not. So check this out. So this building is 220 Central Park South. And at the very top, the top 3 floors, is where Ken Griffin lives. So Ken Griffin, if you're watching, you got a great building, and I hope you have a great rest of the week. Let me know if you need any help at Citadel, and I'll be more than happy to help. Marcy M says, who is Ken Griffin? He owns one of the largest hedge funds in the world called Citadel Securities. All right, let's see. What time? Does anybody know what time it is in the chat? Can we get a quick time check? I apologize. I should have asked before. But everybody, my phone may die. So if the phone dies, I appreciate everybody joining the stream tonight. Please subscribe to the channel if you are new. We will see you on the next one for more streams. We'll keep streaming until the phone dies, because I want to show everybody the Deutsche Bank towers in here. 1047. Hey, Mount Up 716. Good to see you, Mount Up 716. Hope you're well. And just as a quick recap for the topics of the stream, if you type !rent, it'll bring you to the New York City median rent article. If you type !FTD, it'll bring you to the article of Investors Business Daily, where they explain a follow-through day. And I think that about covers it. We also briefly covered the commercial paper market in China as well. So this is 220 Central Park South, and then the brand new beautiful Central Park Tower. Ed Podcast says, Tom, you should be in Florida. You're a snowbird. ST, good to see you, ST. Hey, CLG, thank you for joining. I really do appreciate it. But everybody, have a great rest of the week. Tuesday tomorrow, big day, big week on Wall Street. A lot of earnings are going to be rolling through. We have a lot to talk about, a lot to cover. Oh, it is open. Nice. Maybe we could take one quick lap through. This is the Deutsche Bank Towers. Hey, TJ67, good to see you. Yes, Smee Media says the Whole Foods is in the basement. Here's one of the statues here. Beautiful statues. Phil P says, does Tom live chat nightly? We do. Hey, J Master, good to see you. Andy says, nice statue. San Miguel says, sorry, that's not beautiful. Hey, War Walker, appreciate all the support. Emily says there's one escalator in the entire Wyoming. Hey, Ruby Falcone, as always, good to see you. Thank you for being here. I really, really hope you enjoyed. Eve M says, do people have apartments in here? They do. They do have apartments in here. And the apartments are called, I think it's just called Deutsche Bank Tower. Smee says, does CNN broadcast there? They do. You know what? Actually, I don't think so, actually. I think CNN used to have a place here, but I don't think they do now. Phil P says, what's the rent there? Oh my God. Probably really, really expensive. Probably really expensive. Marciam says, hey Tom, what's your favorite pizza place in Brooklyn? It is called Defara. Defara Pizza. Let me put my hood up, it's freezing out. Clarence Jackson says CNN is at the Hudson Yards now. Yeah, Layla said the rent would make you faint. I mean, you never know. It could have. No, it actually is probably doubled, unfortunately. Phil Pieces, I bet it's 8,000 to 10,000. There's usually a ton of taxi cabs lined up all around here too. But to no avail tonight. Too cold out for that. Andy's beautiful view. Hey Andy, how is everything going in South Korea? Any updates? I'd like to travel to South Korea, but unfortunately, if you travel to South Korea, you have to quarantine for 2 weeks, I believe. Layla says Deutsche Bank Tower has 7 apartments for rent. How much, or what is the cost? Layla, I'm assuming in the millions. Cosmo Scary says, I saw a snow video in South Korea. It was amazing. Hey, speaking of snow videos, everybody, Cosmo Scary in the channel, or in the chat, I believe he just posted his unbelievable, really, really unreal snow video. So if you want to see what New York City looks like during a major snowstorm, you know, check out Cosmo Scary. Really, really super well put together video. I actually had the pleasure of looking at it before it was released, and really good stuff. So please head on over to Cosmo Scary, check that out. You will not be disappointed. Wow, 44K a month, Layla says. Yeah, that's a little bit out of my price range, I'd say. But we are looking directly at 432 Park Avenue. Yeah, Michelle McGraw says I've been waiting on that video. Yeah, check it out. It's up on Cosmo's channel right now. Here's another Billionaires Row apartment. 432 Park Avenue right there. Yeah, I definitely don't know if I could justify 44 grand a month. Jerry, what's up, Jerry? Good to see you. So we're gonna walk back down Broadway. I think that's gonna be the least amount of snow to trudge through. Yes, it's literally never get bored of the views, agreed. Hey, Marty Lewis, thank you so much, appreciate it. Yeah, NE says, I believe there's a lot of issues with those Billionaires Row apartments. There are, especially in 432 Park Avenue, there's actually multiple civil lawsuits that are circulating. There's been a lot of flooding. There's been a lot of electrical problems. The elevators don't work. It seems to be that a lot of the developers just wanted a quick cash grab, unfortunately. Rocco says, hey Tom, any thoughts on VIAC? I have never heard of that particular stock. Is that a SPAC? I've never heard of it. But good to see you. Ron J says hello from Canada. What's up, Ron? Good to see you. Thank you for joining the stream. Appreciate it. Marilyn Ringle is joining us from the one and only Murray Hill. Marilyn says 10:29, or is that 10:59? Right on time, 10:59. So right here used to be the old Bad Boy Entertainment offices with Sean Combs, most notably known as P. Diddy. His office used to be right here and to the left, but it did close down and then nothing ever replaced it. And it's really weird because you have all of these nice office buildings on Broadway, and then you have this one abandoned building right here that used to be Bad Boy Entertainment. So you see it says Bad Boy Worldwide here. This used to be Sean Combs' headquarters, and now it's just an abandoned building. Nobody has ever moved in since. Pretty weird. Let's see if we could take a look inside. What do you guys see? Just a bunch of junk, right? Somebody said, when did it close down? A long time ago. I used to come here, walk past here when I was like 10 years old. And I'm surprised nobody moved in. But this is where they filmed The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. D Dirty says they were also at 1440 Broadway. Thank you for that. So this is the Ed Sullivan Theater. Yeah, Penelope, next time you see Boogie Bob, ask him about it. He probably knows about it. I'm always curious why nobody ever moved in that building. Yeah, that is where David Letterman used to film. No more, though. The Ed Sullivan Theater, very famous. Train station. Tom M says it's late. What time do you start work tomorrow? I think I'll probably get powered up and active right around 9:30. Probably about 9:30, I'd say. My main meeting I have is at 1 o'clock in the city. But usually the first of the month, so I'm in sales. So as everybody knows, the crazy time was today, right? Last day of the month, everybody's scrambling to get things done, to get deals closed. And then the first of the month sort of tends to die down a little bit. But tomorrow I do have a very important meeting in the city. So I will be back here. Hey, DJ Edit is here. Good to see you. Hey, Marty Lewis is the Beatles played in Ed Sullivan Theater in 1964 3 times. Very cool. The phone is horizontal. You are correct. Thank you, DJ Edit. NE says, I heard Wall Street firms have given out their biggest bonuses since '08. You are right. Yeah, we covered that in a previous stream. So this is mainly due to the intense turnover rates on Wall Street. So as we know, every industry is really suffering from high turnover, and investment banking is no exception to that rule. So in order to retain and attract the highest talent on Wall Street, analyst salaries have been raised, associate level, VP, and managing director salaries and bonuses have been some of the largest ever on the street. And that was mainly driven by very large merger and acquisition activity, deal-making activity, as well as a record year for initial public offerings. You know, just look at all of the companies that went public this year on Wall Street. So a ton of fee income, a ton of deals, a ton of M&A activity. DJ Edit says, I'm watching on my 65-inch TV. Excellent picture. I feel like I'm there. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying it. If you're enjoying it, smash the like button. Apple gave out $200,000 bonuses to engineers as well. They did. So to select engineers, Apple did give out $200,000 one-time bonuses. Also, I've been hearing a lot of Microsoft engineers have been getting pretty nice retention packages because Meta, formerly known as Facebook, has been headhunting a lot of the senior engineers at Microsoft. Hey, Diana says, Tom, what time do you begin your streams? So we usually begin right at around 8:30. Good to see you, Diana. Hey, Disney cast members, there's 42 members of Congress either stepping down or running for other offices. Wow. Looks like Congress has a big employee retention problem too. Ron J says, trippy sign. Tom M, I believe I may be too young for that. I've never heard of that. Okay, now we are on West 47th Street and Broadway, headed back down to the Moynihan train station. 34th Street, Penn Station, where you can get the Long Island Railroad, New Jersey Transit. Yeah, Mike S. Crazy, right? Times Square used to be a horror show. I guess in some ways it still is, but in a different way. This guy's dressed for the Lunar New Year. Very cool. So it is the Chinese Lunar New Year, I believe tomorrow. So the city should be amazing with all the different celebrations, the festivities. So I'm looking forward to that. You know what? Maybe I'll go to Chinatown after work and get something to eat. maybe I'll do that. But everybody, my phone is going to die. It's on 10%. So I'm going to end it here. So thank you everybody for joining me tonight. We had very good conversations. Everybody have a great rest of the week. Tuesday tomorrow, big week of earnings on Wall Street. So Michelle McGraw, photos from around New York, Pacific Desert Raid, Cosmo Scary, Lady O, all of our moderators, Mighty Bull, Smee Media, Ron J, Disney cast member, and everybody that joined the stream today. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Marcy M, all the new viewers, thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking, and thank you for signing up for the Behind the Street newsletter. I think we have over 400 people that now read the Behind the Street newsletter, so thank you. I really do appreciate that. And to the Mighty Bull, have a good night wherever you are, because there is always a bull market somewhere, and you just need to know where to look. And I will see everybody right back here, hopefully not in Times Square, but in Chinatown tomorrow. Take it easy, everybody.